Back in April 2021, the brutal hero Berserker burst onto the scenes with an incredible energy, immediately sparking speculation about their future stardom. We also saw some fresh faces like Vengeance, the daughter of Bane, making her debut in the pages of the Joker. And in movie news, a live-action adaptation of Mark Millar's Starlight made this comic book soar up in the charts, grabbing everyone's attention. But this snapshot in time also serves as a valuable reminder about the roller coaster of comic book collecting, particularly the fleeting nature of those impulse buys. Remember those shiny foil covers or the frenzy around recall issues? While they might have caused initial price spikes and a rush to grab them, this list often shows us that without enduring character appeal and a strong storyline, those initial gains rarely translate into long-term value. Ultimately, our trip back to April 2021 underscores a crucial lesson for any serious collector. Always look beyond the immediate hype when you're thinking about investing in the world of comic books. Hey everyone, I'm Izzy from Comics with IzzyVerse NYC, and this is your weekly Cover Price Top 10 Comics Rewind. We are going back 4 years to April 2021. The big question we're asking today is, where does these books stand now? Did the initial heat sustain itself, or did the hype ultimately cool off? We'll be diving into which of those once coveted titles have maintained their value and appeal, and which might serve as a reminder about the often unpredictable nature of the comic book market, and see what lessons we can learn. Remember to like this video and to subscribe to Cover Price's channel. Also, turn on your notifications to stay up to date on the latest comic book news. Now, let's go to the list with number 10. Number 10, Geiger number 1, Image Comics, 2021. Back in 2021, Jeff Johns' new Geiger series was absolutely on fire in the collector's market. Geiger number 1 managed to land at our number 10 spot. We saw raw near-mint copies going for around $20 to $22 consistently, and a CGC 9.8 even fetched $70. Fast forward 4 years, and the series is still a huge hit with fans. While the prices have cooled off, we're still seeing raw copies at around $16 now, and CGC 9.8's closer to $40. There's still a ton of buzz because there is an upcoming TV adaptation. It'll be interesting to see if any of the news or announcement give those prices another bump. Honestly, even with the price dip, Geiger number 1 has been a real winner over the past 4 years. Geiger number 1 is one of the earliest releases from Ghost Machine, praised for its wonderful storytelling and amazing art. While recent sales might suggest it's currently a bit of a bust, if you love comics, both Geiger and the Ghost Machine universe and imprint offer something for everyone. Number 10, Tankers number 1, Bad Idea, 2021. Bad Idea was really on a roll with some great new books, and their release of Tankers just took off in 2021. We saw raw copies hitting as high as $56, and CGC 9.8s were selling at around $150. But 4 years down the line, it seems like a lot of collectors have shifted their focus away from Bad Idea titles. Maybe the initial excitement just wore off for some. Tankers in particular has cooled down. You can now snag a raw near-mint copy for about $5 now, and recently a CGC 9.8 only went for as low as $23. So looking back 4 years, it's definitely fair to say that this one hasn't held that initial crazy value and is a bust. Gimmicks can only carry you so far, and with Bad Idea Comics, it seems like that's exactly what happened. We even had another one of their titles on our list a few weeks ago, and now those books are in dollar bins. And sadly, so is this one. Don't get me wrong,
A little hype can be great, but you got to keep that momentum going. And that's just something Bad Idea hasn't quite managed to do yet.
Number 8, The Joker, number 2, Trevor Hairston, Santa Prisca version variant 1 in 50, DC Comics, 2021. This book was a big deal because it gave us the first glimpse of Bane's daughter, Vengeance. Collectors were definitely intrigued and prices absolutely took off, with rare near-mint copies hitting a high of around $343. Interestingly, there weren't any graded sales in April of that year, but the very next month, a CGC 9.8 went for $875. Now, things are nowhere near those crazy 2021 prices, but this is one of those books where it's tough to nail down a solid price these days. We've even seen a couple of auctions end at surprisingly low numbers, like $53 and $20. Right now, you won't find any raw copies listed for less than $110. When you look at those current asking prices and the few sales that have happened, it's hard to argue that this book is a bust 4 years later.
Back in 2021, Vengeance, created as a clone of Bane to get revenge on the Joker for Bane's murder. She was definitely a hot character. However, things didn't quite go as planned for her, and she eventually moved on. And it seems collectors did too. The price of this book has dropped significantly from its initial high of $825 back in 2021. Will it ever see those prices again? I guess we'll just have to wait and see what the future holds for Vengeance. Personally, I don't think it will.
Number 7, Lando number 2, Marvel Comics, 2015. 4 years back, when they announced the War of the Bounty Hunters event, this book really got a boost because it marked the first appearance of the bounty hunter, Shanif Shah. We saw raw near-mint copies going for around $20, and CGC 9.8 graded copies were fetching close to $80. But moving forward to today, and the prices have really come down, it's basically back to cover price at around $3. We even saw a graded copy recently sell for $40. Looking at those prices compared to where they were, it is clear that this book hasn't maintained that initial buzz over the past 4 years. It's a bust.
Star Wars comics can be tricky when you're looking at them as potential investments. They often carry a higher risk factor. Like many Star Wars comics that introduce a new bounty hunter, Sith Lord, or Rebel, it's wise to approach with caution. Unless it features a very first appearance of one of the original trilogy's main characters, the value tends to decrease over time. You've been warned.
Number 6, Berserker number 1, third print, foil cover, Boom Studios, 2021. The Berserker number 1 third print foil variant was an initial hit, likely due to the success of the first and second printings. Raw near mint copies sold for $125 and graded 9.8 copies went for $300. 4 years later, the excitement around Berserker remains with new titles and a growing fan base. However, prices for those third print foil variants dropped significantly. Raw copies now go for $6 and graded 9.8s are $35, making it a bust in terms of investment. That said, with news of an anime and a live action film adaptation, there's a chance for this book to have a rebound.
Berserker definitely had a lot of buzz surrounding its initial release. The FOMO around this series was pretty intense and can sometimes lead to risky buying decisions. However, with increasing signs pointing towards both an anime adaptation and a live action movie in the future, we might see a renewal interest and a rise in sales for many Berserker books. This may be a good time to grab them while they're still at a very low cost.
Number 5, Captain America 25, Marvel Comics, 2014. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier series was a big success for Marvel, and its popularity had a ripple effect, boosting the price and interest in many comic books. One comic book that saw a price increase was Captain America 25, featuring Sam Wilson's taking on Captain America mantle. Raw copies of this comic reach as high as $150, with a graded 9.8 copy selling for an amazing $600. Sam Wilson's Captain America remains popular, especially with his solo movie Brave New World that released earlier this year. The prices of Sam Wilson comics have been volatile, with lots of ups and downs. However, Captain America 25 is currently experiencing a downward trend, with prices significantly lower than in 2021. Raw copies now go for $19, and a graded 9.8 copy sells for around $40. This dramatic price drop makes this book a bust.
It's interesting that even with Sam Wilson's taking on Captain America mantle, it hasn't significantly impacted the comic book market. The latest MCU movie featuring him in the role actually had somewhat of lukewarm reception at the box office, with worldwide sales currently around 414 million. It's one of the lowest performing MCU films, currently sitting at 28th place. And get this, just behind Thor: The Dark World.
Number 4, The Joker, number 2, DC Comics 2021. Our second book to feature Vengeance initially held value well at $25 for raw copies and $103 for a graded CGC 9.8. However, 4 years later, prices have significantly dropped, now down to $7 for raw copies and $45 for a graded CGC 9.8. This price drop, similar to the ratio variant mentioned earlier, makes this book also a bust.
Does Vengeance have what it takes to become a breakout character? It's tough to say, especially since she haven't appeared in comics for a while now. We might see her again down the line, but for the time being, she seems to be an afterthought for most.
Number 3, Starlight number 1, Image Comics 2014. Mark Millar's Starlight number 1 saw a price surge to $40 for raw near mint copies 4 years ago due to a report by Deadline offering a potential movie adaptation. However, with no further updates on the film, collectors' interest diminished. Prices has plummeted to $1 for raw copies and $16 for CGC 9.8 graded copies, making this our biggest bust today.
Mark Millar is definitely a successful writer, with properties like Kick-Ass and The Kingsman having done well at the box office. So it wasn't too much of a surprise that there was anticipation for his comic Starlight to potentially follow suit. However, we haven't seen any significant movement on a screen adaptation. And now the comic is unfortunately just a dollar bin book. But you know what that means? Cheap grabs.
Number 2, Strange Tales 159, Marvel Comics 1967. The first appearance of Contessa Valentina Allegro de Fonte in Strange Tales 159 saw a surge in popularity following the debut of the character played by Juliette Lewis-Dreyfus in The Falcon and Winter Soldier. Prices for rare, very fine copies reach $450, with a CGC 9.6 graded copies selling for $1,985. 4 years on, and with Contessa set to appear in the upcoming Marvel's Thunderbolts film, prices have fallen significantly. Raw, very fine copies now sell for $50, and while CGC 9.6 copies have hold of value at $1,440, this still represents a considerable drop from the 2021 highs. Given the current prices for this Silver Age issue, it's considered a bust at this time.
Valentina Contessa seems to be stepping into a similar role as Nick Fury in the MCU. And wouldn't you know it, She's a key character in the upcoming Thunderbolts movie, which is being released this very week. That timing feels like more than just a coincidence. So we might see a surge in interest and value for this book very soon.
Number 1, Jenny Zero number 1, the Recall Edition, Dark Horse Comics, 2021. Jenny Zero's number 1 release in April of 2021 is an example of how eras and recall books can quickly become valuable to collectors. This issue had a printing era where page 12 was actually a page from issue number 2. A corrected edition was released 3 weeks later, but the era edition sold many copies, reaching a high of $43 for raw copies. Eventually, the market became oversaturated and prices settled at $4 for raw near mint copies. By 2025, collectors' interest have waned and the prices dropped to $5 for a raw near mint copy, with a graded CGC 9.8 selling for just $35. This significant drop in value shows how the market for era books can fluctuate over time.
The number 1 book back in April 2021 made this list due to its perceived scarcity, but in the end, it was largely driven by FOMO. Unfortunately, books that are recalled often don't maintain long-term desirability and tend to fade from most collectors' must-have lists after about a while. There's definitely an initial rush to grab them, but that demand usually disappears within just a few weeks. And that essentially is what happened here with this particular book.
This week's reflection had a wide variety of selections from different publishers and was well diverse, but unfortunately, all were considered bust based on their current market value. There is a silver lining, however. Upcoming news and announcements about planned adaptations could create renewed interest in some of these books. This would be good news for titles such as Geiger, Berserker, and Starlight. All 3 are original stories that will translate well to film or television. However, our top book's value is unlikely to change much unless Jenny Zero gains widespread popularity.
Looking back at the April 2021 top 10, it really highlights some few key trends in comic collecting. We saw some characters like Vengeance from the Joker and the protagonist of Berserker generate significant buzz right out of the gate, hinting at potential breakout status. Starlight, with its movie adaptation news, also captured collectors' attention. However, this list also serves as a reminder about the fleeting nature of impulse buys, often fueled by gimmicks like foil covers or the rush surrounding recalled issues. While these can lead to initial price spikes, they rarely translate to long-term value if the underlying character or story doesn't maintain broad appeal. Ultimately, this snapshot from 2021 underscores the importance of looking beyond the immediate hype while considering comic investing. Thank you for watching this week's Top 10 Reflective from Cover Price. Please don't forget to slam that like button. And if you like what you see, subscribe to Cover Price's YouTube channel for more weekly content, including the Top 10 Comics, Shaker Report, and comics covered with co-founders Matt and John. CGC President Matt Wilson will be their special guest on the April 28th edition for an in-depth and fun conversation. I also heard there might be some giveaways too. And make sure you check out COVRPRICE.com to see what's on their current top 10 and various trending movers and shakers. Thanks for tuning in. If you want more comic discussion, speculation, and just convention coverage, be sure to check out my YouTube channel, Comics with IzzyVerse NYC. You can also follow me on my socials at IzzyVerse NYC. We'll be back next week with another Top 10 Rewind. Until then, Excelsior.